The cameras were ready long before the first royal car arrived. Every photographer lining the barricades knew this would be another carefully choreographed appearance by the Princess of Wales. Yet what none of them expected was that a completely different story would begin unfolding hundreds of miles away, a story that would ignite headlines, spark endless debate online, and leave royal commentators asking one uncomfortable question. Had someone tried a little too hard to recreate Catherine's moment, only to watch it collapse almost immediately? It all started with what royal observers had nicknamed Catherine's Three Peaks glory. Over recent years, the Princess of Wales had quietly earned admiration for embracing demanding outdoor challenges, supporting conservation projects, and appearing comfortable in rugged landscapes as much as in grand palace settings. Whether visiting mountain regions, participating in physically demanding engagements, or championing causes connected to nature and mental well-being, Catherine cultivated an image that many supporters described as authentic rather than theatrical. She never seemed to chase attention. Instead, attention followed her. That distinction mattered. Because in today's media environment, audiences are becoming increasingly skilled at spotting the difference between genuine public service and carefully staged publicity. According to royal commentators, Catherine's strength has always been consistency. She rarely rushes to respond to criticism. She seldom competes for headlines. Instead, she allows time and repeated actions to shape public opinion. And that patient strategy has paid dividends. Every successful appearance strengthened her reputation. Every calm response during difficult periods reinforced the perception that she remained focused on duty. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, another narrative appeared to be taking shape. Observers began noticing what they believed were similarities between certain public appearances and messaging. Social media users compiled side-by-side comparisons. Lifestyle choices, charitable themes, outdoor imagery, and even wardrobe discussions became the subject of endless speculation. Of course, similarities alone prove nothing. Public figures often support similar causes. Fashion trends overlap. Photography styles evolve. None of that necessarily suggests imitation. Yet online discussions continued growing louder. Then came the event that triggered an entirely new wave of conversation. Reports emerged describing a highly publicized outdoor initiative that some commentators immediately compared with Catherine's well-established image of resilience, nature, and quiet leadership. The promotional rollout appeared ambitious. Professional photographs, polished messaging, inspirational captions. Everything seemed designed to communicate determination, confidence, and purpose. For a brief moment, it appeared successful. Media outlets picked up the story. Entertainment websites amplified the coverage. Supporters celebrated what they viewed as another positive public engagement. But then something unexpected happened. Instead of discussing the event itself, commentators started asking why the presentation felt strangely familiar. Television panels debated it. Royal YouTube channels dissected every photograph. Online forums exploded with comparisons. One commentator remarked that audiences today possess remarkably long memories. Another argued that authenticity cannot simply be recreated through styling and branding. Neither statement accused anyone directly. Yet together they captured the growing mood. Public perception had shifted. Instead of celebrating the campaign, much of the conversation revolved around comparisons with Catherine. And comparisons rarely benefit the person seen as following rather than leading. The internet moved quickly. Within hours, countless posts contrasted Catherine's years of gradual reputation building with what critics described as an attempt to manufacture a similar image overnight. Again, these remained opinions shared by commentators and online users rather than established facts. Still, perceptions often shape headlines just as powerfully as confirmed events. Royal analysts pointed to an interesting difference. When Catherine participates in outdoor engagements, palace announcements typically focus first on the charitable objective. The photographs come later. The attention arrives naturally. By contrast, critics argued that highly polished promotional campaigns sometimes appear designed around the imagery itself. Whether fair or unfair, that distinction became central to the debate. Then another twist emerged. Several newspapers revisited Catherine's previous appearances connected with environmental projects, youth organizations, and community initiatives. Rather than diminishing her reputation, the renewed comparisons reminded audiences just how extensive that record had become over many years. Ironically, the new controversy sent fresh attention directly back toward Catherine. What had begun as another media cycle elsewhere suddenly transformed into renewed appreciation for the Princess of Wales. Royal historians found the situation fascinating. They noted that members of the monarchy rarely gain lasting popularity through dramatic announcements. Instead, public trust usually develops slowly. One engagement, then another, then another. Years of consistency eventually become reputation. That lesson has repeated itself across generations. Some royal figures have relied on spectacle. Others have relied on steadiness. History often remembers the second group more kindly. Commentators suggested this latest episode illustrated exactly why. As debate intensified, television hosts invited branding experts onto their programs. One communications specialist explained that audiences instinctively recognize when someone's public identity grows organically. Another warned that attempting to accelerate that process through carefully curated campaigns can sometimes produce the opposite effect. Instead of appearing confident, it risks appearing calculated. Those observations fueled even more discussion. Supporters of Catherine argued that her popularity stemmed from years of visible commitment rather than isolated publicity moments. Others defended Meghan, insisting that every public figure has the right to redefine their image and support meaningful causes. The disagreement became one of the week's biggest royal talking points. Yet through all the speculation, one person remained almost completely silent. Catherine herself. No interviews. No social media response. No indirect remarks. No visible attempt to capitalize on the controversy. She simply continued carrying out scheduled engagements. That silence became a story in itself. Royal correspondents observed that refusing to engage often prevents temporary controversies from growing into prolonged disputes. It also reinforces an image of confidence. After all, someone convinced of their own reputation rarely feels compelled to defend it every time comparisons appear. Meanwhile, online engagement numbers revealed another surprise. Old videos featuring Catherine hiking, meeting volunteers, speaking with conservation groups, and participating in outdoor events suddenly began attracting millions of new views. Interest surged. Search traffic increased. Articles highlighting her previous charitable work climbed back into recommendation feeds. Instead of overshadowing Catherine's image, the controversy appeared to strengthen it. One columnist described it as an unexpected public relations boomerang. Another called it the comparison nobody intended to make. Whether either description was accurate remained open to interpretation, but the pattern was difficult to ignore. The more debate centered around similarities, the more audiences revisited Catherine's long-established record. Then came perhaps the most surprising development of all. Royal insiders, while emphasizing they could not speak officially, hinted that palace staff remained remarkably unconcerned by the growing media storm. According to several commentators, there was no emergency response, no strategy meetings, no attempt to counter headlines.
Why?
Because, they argued, the palace believed consistency speaks louder than competition. If true, that approach reflected decades of royal communications experience. Let others argue. Continue working. Allow time to settle public opinion. It sounded simple. Yet maintaining that discipline during intense media scrutiny requires remarkable patience. And patience, many observers noted, has increasingly become one of Catherine's defining characteristics. Still, the biggest question had yet to be answered. As public comparisons intensified and commentators continued dissecting every photograph, every appearance, and every headline, would this controversy finally fade away? Or was an even more unexpected twist about to transform an ordinary media debate into one of the most talked-about royal stories of the year? In the days that followed, the headlines gradually shifted. Rather than focusing on rivalry, many commentators returned to a familiar conclusion. Lasting public trust is earned through consistency, not comparisons. Catherine continued her scheduled engagements without publicly addressing the speculation, while the online debate slowly faded. In the end, the episode served as a reminder that media narratives can be dramatic, but reputations are built over time through sustained work and public service. Whether every comparison was fair or not remained a matter of opinion, yet one lesson stood out. Authenticity is difficult to imitate, and patience often outlasts the loudest headlines.